Introducing our guest speaker this morning, Reverend Sheldon Ganberg, PhD. Reverend Dr. Sheldon Ganberg is one of the co-pastors at Colby Memorial Temple here and the director of Lyceum, known as Adult Sunday School. He is also an SCSCMA certified medium, healer, and teacher here at the camp and teaches classes and workshops. And Reverend Sheldon has served on a number of committees, including the Education Committee and the Board of Trustees. And the best part of this for introduction for me is that he's my husband, and I feel very honored and grateful. So please join me now in a warm welcome for Reverend Dr. Sheldon Ganberg. Okay.
There is only... Oh, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to speak. Hello, everybody. Happy post-Valentine's Day. I just got to get myself set up over here. Okay. Okay, that should do it. And so, being that this whole week we're celebrating Valentine's Day, and maybe for next week and the week after that, I love Valentine's Day. The topic of my talk today is the courage to love. And so I'd like to begin by exploring the concept of courage. According to Linda Kavelin-Popov, courage is personal bravery in the face of fear. It's doing what needs to be done even when it's really hard or scary. Courage is going ahead even when you feel like giving up and quitting. Been there and done that. Courage is needed in trying new things, in facing difficult situations, and admitting that you made a mistake and trying it again in a new way. Courage is also doing what you know is right, even if you know that you'll get flack from it. Been there and done that too. I get a lot of flack. I'm a rebel. Courage is a quality of the heart in Chinese medicine, ancient Asian medicine. It also is it's related to the heart chakra. It comes from what you feel in your heart rather than what you think. It's an inner knowing that you should proceed even if it defies logic. Courage requires willingness to let go and to let God. It requires faith that universal and divine law will prevail, even if the appearances may be to the contrary. Now the question is, what does courage, universal law, and love have in common? This is what the mystic Ernest Holmes says about love and divine law. In many of the religious teachings, it is understood that all is love, and yet all is divine law. Andrew Jackson Davis states that the primary attribute of God is love. Love rules through law, and love is divine. Love is divine givingness. Love is compassion. And love is kindness. Love is the glue that binds us all together. Divine law is the way, and divine love attracts. Law is impersonal, and the way God manifests. Andrew Jackson Davis calls divine law divine will. Jackson states that we should study the nature of reality with all of this in mind, and in this way we should avoid two big mistakes. One, viewing life as made-up mechanical laws, and two, viewing life as spontaneous actions irrespective of law and order. From a wider perspective, life contains two fundamental characteristics. One, there is an infinite intelligence operating through an infinite and immutable law. Two, love points the way, and law makes the way possible. Another aspect of love is that it can give us courage. It gives us strength even in the midst of the most challenging experiences. Love is a dynamic and powerful energy that lifts us through the most difficult times. Love is available at any moment by turning our attention to it and using its wonderful potential to free us from our limitations. The courage to love unconditionally requires commitment with intention to allow this vibration to fully permeate our daily experience. I'd like to read you a short story that will demonstrate how having the courage to love unconditionally can transform even in the most challenging relationships. And this comes from a book called The Quest, A Journey of Spiritual Rediscovery by Richard and Mary Alice Javola. Karen was only 14 when her mother died. Less than a year later, her father met and married Jean. Right from the start, the stepmother-stepdaughter relationship was a disaster. As hard as Jean tried, her efforts were fruitless. As hard as Jean tried, her efforts were fruitless, and Karen was overly hostile to her stepmother and took every opportunity to sabotage the marriage. She belittled Jean at home and in the public. She accidentally broke some of Jean's most treasured possessions. No matter how Jean tried to make things better, they only got worse. In 1 year's time, Karen's behavior was so bad that Jean was ready to leave the marriage. At the end of her rope, Jean sought spiritual counseling. She was told the obvious. She was powerless over Karen and would have to surrender the situation to God. For some reason, these words impressed her. On an intuitive level, she knew they were true and was able to completely let go of the situation. At that moment of surrender, she experienced a transcendent happiness. And these are her own words, and this is a true story. After I made the decision to let go, I immediately felt such a tremendous release. I had finally surrendered the problem that was consuming my whole life, and I felt a transcendent happiness. I didn't know what was going to happen with Karen or Bob or this whole mess. All I knew was that I was going to be okay. Karen came home a few hours later and must have been puzzled by how happy I was. But it didn't stop her from starting in right where she had left off that morning. She yelled and cursed me for going into her bedroom to get her sheets. She was enraged. But for the first time, I was able to see the hurt little girl in her. She reminded me of a wounded animal. Her world had fallen apart. Her mother had died just a few years before, and she had been forced to share her daddy with somebody else. For the first time, I understood her pain. I suddenly felt such love for her that I was compelled to hug her, and so I did. She stiffened up, but it didn't matter. I couldn't let go of her. She began sobbing quietly, trying to cover it up, but then the dam broke. She grabbed onto me and cried and cried and cried. We both did. When she stopped, we sat and talked for 5 solid hours. We even missed dinner. When Bob came home, we sent him out to eat. And he sensed something important was happening, so he didn't mind. Now, Karen and I are both working hard at building a very special relationship. Oh, we still have our moments, but there is an underlying love and respect with none of the bitterness and resentment from before. We're not quite mother and daughter, but we're so much more than just friends. In my wildest imagination, I never could have envisioned this. I'll be eternally grateful for finding out about surrendering and turning over my problems to God. Things worked out better than I could have ever hoped, and with such miraculous ease. I still have to pinch myself to prove that this is just not a beautiful dream. And that's a true story. And so, through the simple act of surrender, Jean's life turned from a nightmare to a beautiful dream. All she had to do was to allow divine law to work things out. The universe is always ready. But Jean herself had been in the way. All of her efforts had sunk her deeper into the problem. Only when she turned the problem over to divine love and divine law was Jean's happiness possible. When she let go and let God, she stopped trying to make things happen to force the situation. Rather than acting from her human self by continuing to react to Karen's anger, she rose above the situation. acting from divine love, Jean naturally treated Karen with unconditional love. So, how do we attain unconditional love? How do we actualize this universal principle that is always, always available to us? God is love, and love is God. Each and every one of us is a manifestation of God. We are the arms and the legs of God. The universal consciousness individualizes itself in all of us. The highest God is the innermost God, is one God. This oneness is the DNA of all of us. And so, if God is love and love is God, the way to love is to be love. Being love always begins from within. It begins with ourselves. For without self-love, we cannot know what true love can be. In loving ourselves, we allow the feeling to generate within us, and then we can share it to everyone and everything around us. That which we send out returns to us in greater measure. If you have not thought about how you feel towards yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally, and spiritually, I invite you to do so now. Begin with the journey that changes everything. Begin with the journey of unconditional love. I encourage you all to love yourself unconditionally no matter what. I encourage you to love yourself despite the judgments you may have made about others and yourself. Yes, love yourself, even if you may have hurt another person or yourself. When we allow ourselves to understand the impact that our actions have, not only on ourselves, but the planet we live on, we realize the necessity to take loving action. We each have the power to correct conditions within, as well as to affect the world we live in. There are so many ways to apply love in our everyday lives. Yet if we do not take care of ourselves, it's virtually impossible to feel and share love with the world around us. As an act of self-love, we can begin to educate ourselves and learn to take care of our physical bodies as well as keep our thoughts and feelings positive and loving. Nurturing ourselves also teaches us how to nurture life around us. Practice constant acts of kindness, and you will bring kindness upon this planet. Forgiveness is the easiest and most powerful act of kindness you can make. But for yourself and for others, this activity promotes unity, harmony, and oneness that transmutes the old into the new. This magnificent planet is filled with opportunities to experience love, tolerance, peace, and joy. When we as individuals realize our potential to love unconditionally, we transform ourselves and the planet at the same time. Such is the power we wield every single moment of the day. The choice is ours to create a world of joy and happiness, love and goodwill. Every moment of the day is a new beginning. And this can be a powerful mantra or affirmation. The meaning held in these words open to us a new way of living and experiencing life. Each moment holds a new beginning of possibility and an opportunity to create without limitation. We can let go of what we perceive or believe is before us and allow our personal potential to shine through. Start each day as a new journey of self-discovery. Let go of yesterday and tomorrow and embrace the power of now. Remind yourself daily of the newness of life in the moment. Who will you be in the future? How do you want to experience life? Will you be more kind, gentle, forgiving, tolerant, and loving? Or will you continue to give your power away to the fear and doubt that is so prevalent in our society today? The choice is ultimately yours. Begin with yourself. Realize that you are a powerful spiritual being and you can create with the vibration, the energy of love. Take care of your thoughts and feelings and make sure they reflect the highest you. Even when our emotions get to the best of us and the stress and concerns of life become a bit overwhelming, just remember, we have the tools of forgiveness, meditation, visualization, and letting go to assist us in overcoming the negative experiences we encounter in life. Some things are just not worth worrying about or holding on to. When you are a clear and receptive to your own higher loving nature, you can then direct this love to people and places around you. Your peace becomes the peace of others. Your love becomes the love other people feel. I invite you now to have the courage to love. God bless you all.